Welcome to the Sideline Live podcast. Subscribe for more episodes and follow our social media at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On this episode, I'm delighted to welcome Meath senior intercounty footballer David Toner. A quick note, this episode was recorded back in September before any intercounty games had resumed. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi David, thanks a million for coming on.
Hi Orla, how are you? Yeah, thanks a million for having me.
No problem at all. I like to give the guests kind of about a minute to kind of introduce who they are, kind of their background, and kind of just give them a chance to introduce themselves, the sort of elevator pitch as they call it.
Yeah, no, 100%. So David Toner, 25 years of age. I live in County Meath, play a bit of football with Meath, Club Curraha. Suppose I did my undergrad in DCU, graduated with a marketing degree in marketing, and then did a master's in digital marketing in TU Dublin. Big shout out to them. And yeah, just kind of trying to get through this whole pandemic at the minute. Same as yourself, I assume.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different time for everyone. And kind of going back to the start of your kind of playing days with GAA, what was kind of the background with your family, and was it a big GAA household growing up, or was it just, I'm just going to go down here for the crack and try it out?
Yeah, no, it probably was a bit of a GAA household. Dad played a little bit with Ashburn, who'd kind of just be a few kilometres outside the club where I'm playing for at the minute. Decent footballer, a bit slow, as he says. He was in the way more than anything, which is probably what made him a decent footballer. So yeah, he brought me down. We originally lived in Castleknock.
Okay.
So growing up, I actually started playing with Castleknock, and then Mum had land here in Meath, so we decided to build a house, and then obviously started playing with them. So yeah, would have played with Castleknock at a young age, and then yeah, continued the career from there, I suppose.
Very good. So you're a true dub then.
Oh, I'm gonna cut this interview short.
I had to bring that up.
No, I'm not. Very, very, very much not.
Brilliant. So when did you move to Meath? Were you at a young age?
Yeah, young. I was. I think I moved when I was about 8 or 9. So kind of started like under 10s with Curraha, the club. So yeah, young. Yeah.
And did you play any other sports growing up, or was it just eat, sleep, breathe GAA?
I played a lot of soccer growing up as well. And then did a few kind of summer camps and stuff. Did a few with Home Farm. Was actually probably a better soccer player than GAA.
Okay.
Yeah, funny enough. So, but I think with Dad's background in GAA, I think that was the reason I kind of chose to go that route. But yeah, definitely a better soccer player. Did a bit of swimming as well. I suppose Mum was very keen on us being able to swim at a young age. So
yeah,
started swimming in Coolmine there, not far from Blanchardstown. And yeah, so I suppose, and then a bit of hurling as well. So they were kind of the main sports I was involved in.
So there's obviously a big crossover there with soccer to GAA that obviously benefited you a bit there.
Definitely, yeah. I think in terms of how you kind of read the game, I think it kind of translated very well to GAA. Probably one of my biggest strengths at the minute is being able to read a game, which I think I got from a young age playing soccer. So yeah, I think that was definitely something I took.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then growing up in Meath, were you a member at all of any of the sort of development squads and stuff like that in the Meath county setup?
Yeah, I was I actually probably a latecomer to kind of development squads. When you're kind of talking about, under, I suppose, from maybe under 10s up, I kind of came into development squads at probably, I think I was 16. There's like a competition at the minute where I think Cavan, sometimes Dublin, put in like a team into a competition. It's called the Jerry Riley. It's held up in Kells. Oldcastle, apologies. And yeah, so that was kind of my first taste of, I suppose, kind of inter-county football.
And was there any sort of highlight from your underage career with club and county? Is there anything that kind of sticks out in your mind?
I suppose like coming from such a small club, we were always very competitive. I think a few of us kind of good players came up at the same time. Um, Players like I suppose James McEntee, who's with the senior team at the minute,
Mm.
Evan McGovern. These guys, we all kind of grew up together, and I suppose kind of we won a lot of stuff as we were kind of coming up. And I suppose the kind of highlights from that would be just the club wasn't really winning much when we were kind
Yeah.
of not involved, and I suppose you have to kind of give credit to the management as well that were involved with us, and
Mm.
but yeah, probably not major highlights from intercounty or from playing with Meath. I suppose at that age, it's kind of just getting a feel for a county setup and playing with players from
Yeah.
different clubs, and
Mm.
so yeah, that's probably the highlights.
And then kind of looking back on, your underage and kind of growing up and training, is there any particular skill that you wish you worked on, or you've kind of realised, God, young players should really focus on doing X or Y? Like I know weaker foot is obviously a big thing, but is there anything, small things or other things that you've noticed that, Jesus, 15, 16-year-olds should really be working on this?
Yeah, I suppose the main one you mentioned there was weak foot, and something I was very keen on, or very prominent in terms of learning. I suppose Dad actually was the reason for that. He was very a big believer on having 2 feet, and something
Mm.
definitely I benefited from now. But yeah, I think with GAA, it's very much the basics. Getting I suppose bogged down in terms of tactics and everything. At the end of the day, it's kicking and catching a football, and I suppose
Yeah.
the probably main skills are being able to kick a football, which is you see the likes of the players who went before me, Colin Cooper, renowned for just being able to kick a football. So yeah,
Yeah.
probably would have spent more time kicking at targets, trying to hit yeah, probably just kicking at targets and trying to
Yeah.
improve my aim and stuff.
It's like I think Mick Bowen, he did a GA conference and he was saying there's 4 skills in the game: kicking, catching, pushing, and shoving. There's not to overcomplicate the training, because I think that sometimes the tendency is to overcomplicate, especially for kids these days. Um,
Absolutely. And I think I heard another great one during the week as well. I think it was someone said the worst skill ever brought into Gaelic football was the solo. Uh,
that's a
so
good
I think
one.
that kind of that sums it up.
Yeah, definitely. And then you talked about there, you were kind of a member of the latter stages of development squads. Were you a part of the under 21 campaign at all, or how did you kind of bridge the gap to playing senior?
Yeah, that was, I suppose it was probably minor where I kind of made the jump from just regular club football to kind of to playing with a county setup. I was lucky enough to be involved in minor. I was 2 years minor. Great manager who's over me again now, Andy McEntee.
Mm.
Andy was my minor manager 2 years in a row. We got to an All Ireland final the first year, beaten by Dublin. Funny enough, 3 times that year in the league,
Okay.
the Leinster Championship and the All Ireland final. So that was, I suppose, my first real taste of intercounty football.
Mm.
And Andy kind of came in and kind of changed the way a lot of players thought about the game and played the game, and I suppose that was replicated in the results we were getting.
Mm.
And so then, yeah, did that first year minor, and then second year Andy was also involved, so played that. I think we didn't do as well that year. I was injured in the first championship game, went with a broken ankle, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, that's tough.
And then yeah, kind of kicked on from there. I suppose under
Mm.
21s, and yeah, not as successful a career with the under 21s as I did with minor, but
Yeah.
helped bridge that gap, as you said.
And what was that like, being involved in Leinster finals and All Ireland finals at the minor stage? Was the final in Croke Park?
Yeah, the Leinster final was in Croke Park as well as the All Ireland final. And yeah, like it was my first, like I said, kind of real taste of county football. So I suppose it kind of became like I'd nothing to really compare it against, and I
Hmm.
suppose it was surreal being able to play and warm up in Croke Park. Even
Yeah.
it was, I suppose it's every kid's dream. But yeah, it was
Mm.
definitely kind of a bit starstruck at the time.
Yeah, I probably, nearly at full capacity, even for the minor game. I'd say the noise, even, and just, I'd say it's memorable. Your first time playing in Crow Park, I'd say, because you've been obviously dreaming about it for so long. It's obviously a
Definitely,
huge part.
definitely, and I think I am not. I can't 100% remember, but I think it could have been Meath and Dublin in the senior final as well. So it was
Oh,
kind of,
okay, right.
yeah, that double kind of minor and senior. So
Yeah,
like you said, it was pretty much full to capacity in this towards
brilliant.
the second half, and yeah, it was a cool experience.
And then, so you obviously played under 21. Then, were you drafted into the seniors kind of straight away, or was there a couple of years where you were working like with your club and by yourself or at all?
Yeah, I think I was 2 years under 21, and again, like I said, kind of not as successful a run in that. And then I was brought into the senior team the year after, um, by Andy as well. So Andy kind of from the minor kind of knew me, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it was I think it went straight into the senior setup,
Mm-hmm.
um, which was yeah definitely quite a step up.
Yeah, and was there anything when you obviously made the jump? Was there anything that you realized, oh God, like I need to really work on this or that, or was there any sort of like welcome to the big leagues moment?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think you probably name it yourself. I suppose the physicality was the first thing. Being able
Yeah,
to, I think the first training session, I think I had Donald Keogan tackling me, and I got absolutely swallowed up. And I probably the one thing that stands out in my mind is that just being helpless in a tackle and not being able to get out. And I suppose that
yeah,
was kind of what brought me then to the gym. I suppose the gym kind of stage of my life, which
yeah,
I'm very much heavily involved in now still.
yeah. And was there anything like did you have any sort of mentors or players that really took you under their wing? I guess kind of coming into the dressing room for the first year.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose one thing me that were very renowned for at the time was, I suppose, the camaraderie that were they're used to having, and pulling all in the same direction. And I suppose players like Donald Keogan and I know Mickey Burke, um, lads who were you can't replace them in a dressing room. And I suppose for young lads coming in it's invaluable. I think the
Mm-hmm.
first bit of advice I ever got was from Donald, who I think it was in an O'Byrne Cup game, said something like, just get your hands on the ball and give it away straight away, and then you'll be in
Yeah,
the game. So I
yeah.
suppose what he was
Get
saying
the
is,
get
don't
the
do
first
too
touch
much.
kind of thing. Yeah,
Exactly. Get
yeah.
get the first touch. Don't do too much. I suppose it's the first ball
Mm,
you get, you lose it, your head's gone straight away. So that
that's
was
great
probably
advice.
the best bit of advice I've ever gotten, and I even still use it
Mm.
to the day.
Yeah, I might take that bit for myself. I definitely need
Yeah, yeah.
it. And then, kind of talking about your first year in basketball, a big thing is sort of like the rookie duties. Was there any? Is there anything like that in the GAA?
Yeah, it's funny. I suppose, like you said, basketball, and I think even in terms of, I think soccer as well is another big one. It's kind of a rite of passage having kind of rookie
Yeah.
duties. I think it's something that's a bit. I don't think it's as prominent in the GAA, and probably something that
Okay.
should be. Um, I think it's a good kind of lead into a squad. But yeah, I think we had an away game. I can't remember where it was, but I think we were all kind of having. I think we were all in the bus home and think having a few cans maybe. I think it was at the end of a campaign or something, and so a few of us were
Mm.
asked to get up and um,
Oh yeah.
sing a song. So of course, I don't know why I decided to rap. Uh, so I thought that would have been a bit of a change from singing. It was a terrible idea, and
Is there any video evidence of this? We'll
no,
definitely
thank God.
put this link in the description.
No, no, and if there is video evidence, it's been burnt. So, no, it was. I think I chose a Drake song, and I had a load of foul language in it. And I can remember looking at the management team when I was doing it, and they were absolutely appalled at this foul language I was using. But again, I was just trying to impress, being the rookie.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I know with the NBA, it's funny they to bring like little like Barbie bags and like pick up like dinners and stuff and God knows what. Maybe when you're it's part of the senior part of the team, you can start doing that to the players.
Definitely, yeah. I might get a list from you if you have any
Yeah,
ideas.
definitely, I'll send that on. And then kind of talking about the demands of intercounty football. It's obviously very topical and very prevalent at the moment. What is sort of the weekly schedule? Because I don't think people really realise the work that goes in. Like it's not just they always talk about Dublin are training all the time, doing gym work. What is sort of the weekly schedule that you guys go through sort of in season?
Um, Yeah, I suppose it's important to say first of all that I suppose COVID has kind of changed everything now at the minute in
Yeah.
terms of schedule. So I suppose if I'm referring to I suppose
Oh yeah,
pre-COVID
yeah,
days.
yeah.
Um,
Totally. Yeah, I didn't mean to say that at all. It was more kind of maybe last year, let's say for the 2019 campaign, what was your sort of weekly schedule coming into the likes of the Super 8s and stuff like that?
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's grueling. It is very, very, very demanding. I don't think, I suppose, like you said, it is quite prevalent, and there is a lot made of it. But I don't think it's, from a player's point of view, it is grueling.
Mm.
I suppose the different stages of it in terms of pre-season and then league and then championship preparation. It's all very different, but at the same time, it is tough. And
Mm.
like you said, everyone kind of goes on about how Dublin are, their preparations and stuff, and I suppose they are at the minute a bit of ahead of the curve. But in saying
Yeah,
that, there's very few counties who aren't putting in the same amount of hours and the same
yeah,
work and the same, I suppose, working behind the scenes as Dublin. I think
yeah.
it's
They're
we
not really getting the credit, I don't think, in the media. It's not just Dublin doing whatever 2 days. Like everyone is putting in the work. It's intercounty football. It's not. It doesn't really matter like if you're All Ireland champions or not.
Absolutely, absolutely, and a lot of people prepare the same way. And yeah, I suppose something when I got brought in, Andy, I suppose, had his kind of his ways of doing things and preparing, and he was very, very keen on mixing in gym sessions with, just running sessions and doing stuff in your own time. I suppose he did
Mm-hmm.
hand a lot of responsibility to players to do stuff in their own time, to maybe try
Brilliant.
and
Yeah.
free up that schedule a little bit instead of having lads coming in for an hour and doing a gym session. He expected you to do the gym session on your own, to
Mm-hmm.
save you having to, meet up and come in, so he did put a lot of onus back on the players, which I think a lot of players definitely responded to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like it is tough, but at the same time can be very, very rewarding.
Yeah, totally. And then in terms of the off season, then sort of finishing up with the county and with club as well. I know football it's different in that sense of when you're finished county, it's straight back into club. In terms of your own off season, would you give yourself much of a break coming into the likes of November, December, or are you still kind of tipping away at home doing your own things?
Yeah, I suppose personally now, I'd be very much in the. I would take the foot off the gas, so to speak, but I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't stop kind of doing stuff and try and keep
Mm-hmm.
myself in some sort of shape, because I suppose the longer you leave your kind of your holidays and your breaks, the harder it is to come back and try and
Yeah.
get back into shape. So I'd be very much into the gym and doing my own stuff during the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose
Yeah.
when club football finishes, I'd still go to the gym, 4 or 5 times a week,
Mm-hmm.
and keep myself into shape, eat decently. So yeah, I wouldn't say I completely take a month or two off. I very much like to keep myself in shape and you know
Mm.
keep going.
That Yeah, it's interesting because JJ Redick plays in the NBA, and he was saying before on his podcast that no matter when he finishes in the season, he doesn't pick up a basketball until like July 4th. And it's interesting to hear like some players obviously prefer keeping, like you were saying, keeping in the gym, keeping tipping over. And he was like, no, I am taking a break completely for a couple of months even.
Yeah, and I suppose even with the schedules that the NBA have, I suppose I don't know, I'm not too sure how many games they have in a season, but I can
Mm.
only imagine
It's
the last thing.
incredible amount. Yeah,
I
it's
can
like
only imagine the
82
last
at
thing.
least. Yeah,
Yeah, like probably the last thing they want to see is a basketball during their off season. So,
totally. Yeah.
but I suppose similar to that, I wouldn't be kicking a football around as much in an off season. I'd be very much just doing trying to keep the body in a certain shape and not put on too much of a
Yeah.
Ned.
Yeah, but you're giving yourself at the same time sort of a mental break from the likes of getting the football and doing the drills and stuff.
Definitely, definitely. And I suppose when you
Yeah,
like when you like it, I suppose it's easier to kind of keep going. Like I'd be very much, I'm quite gym fanatic in that kind of sense. So I
yeah,
actually enjoy it.
yeah, exactly. That's the key thing, I think. And with your own training, then, would you do much cross training at all? You mentioned before soccer and swimming. Is there anything, especially in the off season, that you would do, probably just to keep yourself fit?
I suppose, would you believe this year actually I did do so I think friends just around the areas we set up like a five-a-side league.
Oh,
So
brilliant! Yeah.
I think twice a week we used to play five-a-side just up in the local pitches, and I think, to be honest, coming back from that, I was fitter than I've ever been.
Yeah.
It was incredible, the amount that you'd kind of sweat during a session like that. And I think, instead of having to go up to the hill of Tara or something and run, you were able to play with a football and stuff. So yeah, I would try and keep going. And again, like I said, I do the gym and stuff, but no,
Mm.
I haven't really done anything in terms of like maybe taking up swimming or cycling or anything like that. I tend to keep it very much kind of football and that kind of that kind of
Yeah,
way.
that's really interesting about the five-a-side. That because again, you're with your mates, you're having fun, bit of crack. Like, and again, it's different. It's not Gaelic football. Again, it's soccer, so it's similar, and you're keeping your
Absolutely.
touch, and it's obviously benefiting you because you can't handle the ball, and you're getting your kicking and your touch right with your foot.
Absolutely. And again, and it's kind of keeping, ligaments and tendons moving, and, so they're not
Mm,
shook when they're coming back to action. And yeah, I must say
yeah.
probably the most enjoyable off season I've had in a long time doing that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And then kind of talking about your own game and sort of, your pre-game routine, do you have any sort of superstitions, or do you have like a pre-game meal, and music wise, what do you sort of listen to, and stuff like that?
Yeah, I suppose one aspect of my personality, I'd be very much like a caffeine junkie,
Okay, yeah.
so I'd be driving to games with a can of Monster, and then I'd take a pre-workout. And I love getting kind of hyped and buzzed for games.
Yeah.
So I very much kind of I high caffeine intake before games. I suppose the one thing I do like to stick to is just get as loose as possible.
Mm,
I find like starting loosening up way before any warm up is done is key probably to my pre-game routine. I like
mhm.
getting as loose as possible.
And is
Um,
that through like foam rolling, or do you just have stretches or exercises, or
yeah,
what would you
yeah.
kind of do?
It'd be foam rolling and a mix of exercises
Hmm.
and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Love it.
I just stick the headphones in and just shake the hips.
Yeah. And definitely a bit of Drake there going on, the
Oh, for
music
sure,
wise.
for sure. For God's plan, that's a bit of me now.
Yeah, yeah, good, good. And then, kind of chatting about your career, you play defender with Meath. What was kind of the typical, forward that you're coming out and you hate marking? Are they fast? Are they just constantly moving off the ball? What are the sort of traits that you've seen of the really successful forwards?
Yeah, I suppose being Division One for the first time this year was definitely a step up to anything I've experienced before.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it helped that a lot of the forwards we have training are like Division One standard forwards.
Yeah.
If you're marking the likes of, I suppose, Brian McMahon and Donal Lenihan every week, you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
used to the movement of forwards. But yeah, the step up, I suppose, one game that kind of sticks out is, I suppose, down in Killarney against Kerry. I was on Paul Gainey,
Mm-hmm.
and I suppose yeah, I thought he did quite well on him now, but yeah, his movement was
Yeah.
something I probably stood out to me that day. He was
Yeah.
constantly moving off the ball, and yeah, it is a massive step up. But I think if you're going in with that mind frame of Jesus, I'm lucky to be here, and I'm these lads aren't I'm not good enough to mark these. You're not going to be good enough to mark them. So
Yeah. You have
I
to go
suppose
in with total confidence and belief in yourself. I'm here for a
absolutely.
reason. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely, yeah, and
Mhm.
I'm well able for these, and that is, I suppose, a kind of an attitude I do bring to games when I am
Mhm.
playing. I might have watched them playing football when I was younger, but now I'm marking them and I'm
Yeah.
well able, and I'm looking forward to the
Mhm.
challenge.
Yeah, you're not coming in with stars in your eyes like, oh my god, I'm marking X or Y. Like, I'm here to do a job and I'm going to take you down with
Absolutely,
along with it.
absolutely,
Like, yeah,
absolutely.
brilliant. And kind of talking about your opponents, then, who would be the toughest you've ever marked? You can be with Meath and with any sort of intercounty squad.
Yeah, I suppose Paul is one that comes to mind. I suppose then the same game, I was on David Clifford a good bit. Again,
Mm.
another very good
Did your
forward.
hands full that day?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I suppose when you're going down to Kerry, I suppose that's what you can expect.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the league got postponed just before we got to play Dublin, so
Mm.
I was looking forward to that challenge to mark some of their forwards. But yeah, I suppose the Kerry forwards were very good, um, and yeah, probably the ones that stick out to me as well. But again, like I said, when you're training with Division One standard forwards, it makes everything so much easier.
Yeah, it's like the quote, "Iron sharpens iron." Iron sharpens iron. So you're playing against the best in training. You're gonna go up against the best and do a job.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly it. Yeah.
brilliant. And then obviously the big kind of talking point for the start of this year with the league and with the league last year was the mark. What is sort of your opinion on the mark for the forwards? So the attacking mark. I don't know the actual name of it. What was your opinion of it? When it was announced, were you kind of skeptical of it? What did you think of it?
Yeah, I suppose originally it was because it's just so unknown, and I suppose you can kind of only go off the games that do implement it. I suppose
Mm-hmm.
being AFL, and I suppose everyone, I think, started to think that GA was going to turn into the AFL.
Mm.
To be honest, the games I've played, I don't see it affecting games as much as people think. Um,
Okay.
I think just thinking back to the league campaign we just had, we didn't gain a lot of marks from it, and I don't think we conceded a lot of marks. I suppose the nature of inter-county backs, being as tight markers as they are, I think it is tough to be able to get marks.
Mm-hmm.
But GA it doesn't tend to change overnight.
Yeah.
Players don't tend to change what they've been doing the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
If a midfielder isn't used to kicking a ball 40 yards for a mark, he's not
Mm-hmm.
just going to start doing it all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So I think it will take a while for it to kind of be brought in and to kind of really
Mm-hmm.
start to affect games. But I definitely think it's the GA trying to move the game in the right direction,
Yeah.
which I think is probably the main point I'd give to your question. They are
Mm-hmm.
trying to make it a more, I suppose, spectacle to watch. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so in that sense, I'd be very, very in favor of it. Yeah.
That's a good point you made. Like, it's not like overnight it changed the game. Like, it's probably going to take maybe the guts of a year or two, maybe three, for forwards even to get used to it and to kind of implement that into the game plan.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, players aren't going to change how they play overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, like I said, it is the GA trying to move the game in a direction to make it better
Mm-hmm.
for everyone, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
And then, sort of as a defender, then you spoke about it hasn't really come in that much. Has it sort of changed your style at all, or as a defender, like how you mark your the forwards at all, or is it just the same? I'm doing the exact same as before.
Yeah, probably. I suppose I'd be a big fan of the NFL, which is probably my favorite game to watch at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose I take a lot from what the defenders in cornerbacks in NFL do, and bring that, I suppose, try and bring it to my game,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of just trying to be as tight as markers as you can, make it difficult for forwards. My experience is forwards, they all tend to love themselves. They're all they're all forwards for a reason, and so
Yeah.
yeah, I think if you get in their face, and I think I heard a great quote from Colin Nally, who is our coach. They're not lazy forwards; they're just selective participation.
Oh,
Um,
that's a good one. Yeah, I like that one.
so yeah, so I think yeah, I suppose the mark hasn't changed as much as my defending as I would have before it, but definitely
Mm-hmm.
something you're conscious of in a game, I suppose, depending on
Yeah.
as well the size of the man you're marking and stuff. So
Yeah, that's interesting you said about kind of looking to the NFL, like their footwork and stuff. Like, I've seen some of their workouts; they're absolutely insane. So you're definitely out with the speed ladders. I'd say every few weeks.
yeah, I do. Yeah, definitely. I try and take some stuff that they do and their training regimes. I follow a lot of them on Instagram and stuff, and do look at a lot of their workouts. Yeah, look, I suppose they're professional. They're doing they're professional almost from the time they leave secondary school, high school over
Yeah.
there. So it's a game I love to study, and I do
Mm.
take a lot of stuff that I do from it anyway. Definitely.
Yeah, I watch a bit of the combine. I just find it fascinating. Like, you see the size of these lads. Like, they're not only tall, but like they're big men, and like when they do that 40-yard dash. Oh my god! Like, it's crazy the speed that they have.
Definitely, yeah, yeah. And I
Mm.
suppose, look, at the end of the day, it is their livelihood and their future. So I don't know,
Exactly.
maybe if the GA turns professional, we'll start seeing outrageous GA players coming through.
Yeah, there'd be the county managers be flying over to the States, getting a few of the lads to come over, I think.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. And we might see
Yeah,
the GA combine become a thing as well. So
There you go. Yeah, that's a good idea actually. And then kind of looking back, what's the biggest thing you've learned so far in your football career?
Um, it's the biggest thing I've learned so far. I suppose in terms of, not from so much the football side, but probably the relationship side of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've made some probably best friends from true football, and I suppose it's important to, as well as, football is important. It's not the be all and end all. Which
Mm-hmm.
I think is definitely something. If you ask anyone, I would be very much describe me. I've learned that, when you leave the white lines, I suppose you need to leave it there. If you
Mm-hmm.
if there's something you need to improve on, if there's something that you're not happy about, you can fix it. But I think when the game's over, the game's over. And I think you
Mm-hmm.
need to, like I said, it's not the be all and end all.
Yeah, totally. That's a good point. When you cross the right line, you leave it there. That's something that I always think of it like mistakes are like glue to the brain. Like I can tell you a mistake I made 18 months ago, and something that worked for me was kind of not a journal, but if something was at me or if I did something wrong in a match, I'd write down what I did wrong, but also what I did right, because I think our tendency is to not remember. I made a brilliant tackle or I got a big block. It's I let him get a goal or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's interesting that you mentioned having a journalist. We're doing a lot of kind of psychology stuff at the minute as well, sports psychology and
Hmm.
that, and obviously something they mentioned. So yeah, no, definitely something that's I think works.
And then kind of you were talking about the advice players had given you before about coming into the senior squad. What advice would you give to players looking to kind of make the jump to play county?
Um, yeah, that's an interesting question. I suppose, do you know what? It's if it's not broken, don't fix it. I suppose, similar
Mm-hmm.
to what I was told, it is about kind of having confidence, that you're good enough to be there. And I think it was something that I think a lot of players, even myself, could have gotten bogged down. And you're seeing players that you were watching on TV, and it can kind of, you can get into that starstruck mentality. But I think,
Mm-hmm.
you're good enough to be there. You're good enough to be there. Don't stop trying to improve, no matter how good you think you are.
Yeah.
Would be probably a big one. And yeah, definitely, I think just working with a ball, I suppose. I
Mm-hmm.
think the GAA is moving. It is moving in a bit of a direction like the NFL in terms of strength and conditioning. But I think at the end of the day, I think ball wins all. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
probably my tip to younger players, definitely.
Yeah, trying to get out and for even 10 minutes a day and just kicking a football, getting the touch, getting used to it. Like your football is your best friend. I think
Absolutely.
Bernard Brogan's book, he talked about his dad, I think, bought him ten footballs or something, and he was just out there kicking the leather off them every week. And obviously, look at his career, it obviously worked out well for him.
Geez, he was able to afford 10 O'Neill's footballs. He was. I'll tell you, we wouldn't have that luxury down here in Meath now.
No, that's the AIG money, I think maybe.
Yeah, that's almost 200 quid there. So no,
Yeah, that's a lot
lucky,
of money.
lucky.
Yeah, and then you recently started up your own YouTube channel, for sort of kicking challenges and stuff. What kind of prompted you to the channel?
Yeah. I suppose I kind of started over lockdown. Um, I would have been very much. What I'd watch on TV is sports. I suppose I wouldn't be mad into kind of series or stuff like that. It'd be live sport, which you kind of, would take up my afternoons. And I suppose when that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stopped, I kind of went elsewhere for kind of sports content.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up kind of going to YouTube and came across a lot of YouTubers and stuff that were doing, I suppose, challenges and skills and sports related content that I just found really, I suppose I kind of gravitated towards just watching that,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of just said, like, with all the free time I have, why not, I suppose, do a few of it myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it'll get me outside as well, which I think a lot of us tended to, maybe sit at home during lockdown and not leave the house. So yeah, it got me outside and got me kind of back with a football in my hand. So I suppose that's kind of where it kind of originated from.
Yeah, I think especially with it's only starting to come in now, but there's not a lot of GAA related things on YouTube. Like you were saying, like I obviously follow basketball. There's so much there. Like there's a number of people and like probably hundreds of people doing content. But with the GAA, you could count it on your hands, like nearly the amount of people that are doing stuff. So it's good to see, it becoming more of a regular thing for players, to watch, like young guys and girls in Meath to watch, senior footballers doing a kicking challenge. That's something they can do themselves at home.
And do you know what? That's actually a good point you raised. It was probably another reason why I started. being able to, have, I suppose, someone for younger kids to look up to and say, to watch content, sports content, and kind of get them excited about, kicking a football themselves. I suppose even I don't know if you're a TikTok user, but even content on that as well is very much just every second video is basketball related content, like you said. And I suppose there is that lack of kind of GAA, I suppose, content to consume when there's no live games on. And I suppose that's kind of where I kind of got the idea from,
Handy now if we go into another lockdown, you've something to keep you ticking over.
That's it. Absolutely. Yeah. Just, diversifying in as many things as I suppose I can.
Yeah, exactly. And you said before you had a marketing degree. You didn't have any. Did you have any sort of media experience before, or videography, or was it just, I'm just going to give this a lash. I'll pop the camera down and see what happens.
Yeah, I would have had a kind of quite a small bit of experience in it. I did a few kind of work placements in. I suppose my first one was in Sport Ireland.
Okay, yeah.
Where during my undergrad, I did a year there. So I would have done a lot of kind of sports, kind of videography there. I suppose being around videographers, filming live events and stuff, and I suppose you kind of subconsciously pick up tips from that. And the majority of what I learned came actually from YouTube and just watching videos on how to edit videos and stuff. And again, like you said, it probably does fit kind of nicely with the marketing background I do have. So
yeah, you weren't technically going in blind, but I always think of it like it's sort of like the YouTube degree. Like I technically have a YouTube degree in podcasting because I just googled how to do a podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. But that's the joy of YouTube,
Totally, yeah. We're very lucky these days to have it. And then chatting about your channel, do you have any sort of dream player that you'd want to do it with in terms of, I know you love the NFL, so if you had like a dream GAA, NFL and maybe another sport to kind of collab with, if there's any sort of player or YouTuber even.
Jeez, you're getting me very excited here now, Orla.
Yeah, you never know who's listening. You never know if they might be tuning in.
That's what I'm hoping. So I better name them all just in case. No, definitely, yeah. Something I'd love to do. I think one that sticks out is probably Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback from the Kansas City Chiefs.
That'd be a good one, all right.
Yeah,
Patrick, if you're listening there, just get in contact. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Very good. And do you have any sort of goals with the channel, or what can we expect over the next few months?
Yeah, definitely. I suppose club football is kind of finishing now as well, so I suppose I didn't release as much stuff as I would have liked to, but yeah, no, the goal is to kind of just keep doing stuff I kind of enjoy doing, and then bringing my friends into it as well. A lot of the people featuring in my videos are people I'm close to, and people who I know, and I kind of enjoy, the bit of kind of the banter with them during it. And yeah, just to be honest, to kind of get as many kind of young people seeing the videos as possible, and try and, maybe get them to kind of to influence them to get out and get playing football. And I suppose it's kind of a double doink, as they say. They're on their phone to watch the video, but to hopefully get off it straight away and then get outside and get kicking,
Yeah, brilliant. Kind of emphasising players, don't just watch me, get out and do it yourself. Come,
absolutely.
In a couple of years, come challenge me and, play against me and take my spot, obviously.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly. Be the next generation. And even it's saying that, something I'd love to be able to do, to have an open challenge with kind of young people, with kind of kids, to get them up and, kicking against me.
I definitely have to come down. Definitely have to come down to Meath now and definitely give you a bit of a challenge. What do you think?
Look, if you watch the videos I've done so far, there's not much of a challenge.
I'll fit in well then. I'll fit in well.
Exactly. I expect a win from you.
Brilliant. And then moving on to the final segment, it's what's called the Sideline Seven. So it's the same 7 questions to every single guest, so the listeners can compare. So question 1 is, what is your favourite quote?
What is my favourite quote? I suppose you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Michael Jordan, was it?
I think it's Michael Jordan. Yeah. I think
the goat of everything. Best sporting event you've been to?
I went to I went to it's called a training camp in San Diego during my J1. It's basically a training camp for the NFL before they get into preseason games.
Okay.
So it's where fans are allowed to come along, kind of meet the players and stuff,
Oh,
and
deadly.
watch some training. So definitely, I was starstruck watching that.
Yeah, that's unreal. What year was that? Was there any sort of big names at it?
Oh, what year was it? God, don't quote me on this. I think it was 2017, 18. I think
Okay, yeah.
2018. So yeah, I think who would have been there at the time? To be honest, I wouldn't have been as big into the NFL as I am now.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have been able to name as many, but I think I remember, yeah, just seeing the size of the players and just, yeah,
Yeah,
it was,
that's up close as well, as in you were saying you had a chance to kind of maybe meet some of them. That's amazing. That's
yeah,
something definitely I might look into and try go see
do
if
it,
it's pretty
yeah, and
cool.
it's
Yeah.
free and it's yeah.
Oh, it's free. Oh, even better.
Yeah, you can just show up to the training camps to where they train and just sit on the sideline and watch them go at it.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. That's pretty cool. Biggest setback or challenge so far in your career?
Biggest setback or challenge so far is probably setback would have been like I said, I broke my ankle there
Mm.
about about I think God, I was 18, so at least 5 6 years ago. So that was the biggest setback
Okay.
at the time. I first tough injury. I was doing well at the time, so I kind of struggled to deal with that.
Yeah.
And biggest challenge, I think, has to be COVID-19, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah, trying to get out and do your runs and do whatever by yourself, I'd say, is obviously a big challenge.
It is definitely, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Next question is your biggest achievement on or off the pitch?
Biggest achievement on or off the pitch. I suppose on the pitch it'd be two. I think I suppose playing Division 1 football with me this year,
Mm.
um, and also winning a junior and intermediate championship with my club Curraha. So that'd be the
Mm.
two biggest achievements on the pitch. Off the pitch, graduating my masters in digital
Mm.
marketing was a tough year and was the was worth it in the end.
Yeah, it'll pay dividends hopefully now in the future.
Definitely, yeah.
Interesting you brought it back to your club. It's the tendency with people I've had on, it's always your biggest achievement. Usually they do mention their club. It's who you started with. It's who you're going to finish with. It's obviously a big part of your life.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
I wouldn't
Mm.
trade I wouldn't trade those medals for anything in the world.
Brilliant.
That's
Yeah.
that's very inspirational, isn't it? Very
Yeah,
sappy.
yeah, that definitely is. I'll definitely do a snippet of that and just have that as a
Yeah.
clip. Looking back as well, we're doing a lot of reflection in these podcasts. I have to start moving forward. What advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
What advice would I give to my 18-year-old self? Care less about what other people think,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
because
is a
I
big
always
one.
find this obviously setting up a podcast was pretty big for me because you're at the age of everyone's like, "What are you doing? Like that's weird. Like nobody does that." And it's funny because the people who give out or like slag you are usually jealous or they want to do their own thing anyway. Like they kind of want to stop
Absolutely.
you so they can do it.
Absolutely. And as well as that, even with the YouTube channel, I would have started it years ago if I had taken the advice that I kind of just said there.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I think it's like, but Ireland is, I always think of it like sort of an island mentality, as in, if you're living in a little village, it's right, everyone's going down this road, but if you step one foot out, like it's the talk of the town. It's, oh my God, look what she's doing, look what he's doing.
yeah, I honestly couldn't agree more.
Mm,
Yeah, I had a few. I remember heated debates even on my J1 about that. How
mm,
being in America, it's so the mentality I suppose in stepping out of your comfort zone is just so much more. I suppose it's done over there and over here.
yeah.
If anyone does anything out of the ordinary, it's very much what's that. I suppose I don't know if you saw that TikTok house that came out recently.
Oh yeah, the Go House. Yeah, the
Yeah,
I saw the controversy.
that's the first thing that comes to mind. People trying to do something that's a bit different, and then people just kind of
Yeah,
put them down for it. So that's, yeah, like you said, island mentality.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, you're trying to stop everyone kind of going for their dreams, and yeah, it was the stuff on social media was atrocious. What was happening
I
was
know.
disgraceful. I thought it was absolutely disgraceful. Your dream dinner guest. If you had to pick it, like anyone in the world, and why?
My dream dinner guest.
If you can pick one, I'll allow a few. That seems to be a theme. It's somehow turned into a dinner party at this
I
stage.
know, yeah, like, yeah, God. I suppose we have to keep 2 meters apart as well, which is important.
Yeah, oh, definitely. It's be a big room as well if it's a dinner party.
I suppose, do you know what? I probably have to go back to the NFL and probably say Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
I
good
think
pick.
I think he's very cool, and I'd love to just have a chat with him and just see what's up.
Yeah, I was watching his highlight reel of his catches, and they're just unbelievable.
Yeah, probably why I got into it in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, they're and I'd love to see what he does in the off season with the likes of what they're throwing tennis balls or whatever he's doing. That'd be fascinating to see. My final question before I let you go: if your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
Um, God, geez, very good question.
Yeah, I robbed
Um,
it off another podcast, so I can't take the credit for it.
no, look, that's fair. If my life was a book, what chapter would this? I'm gonna go with just getting started.
Okay, so we've big things to expect from football and YouTube.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, very good, very good. So look, I'm gonna let you go. I just want to wish you the best of luck this season. Hopefully everything goes ahead with COVID-19 and everything, and best of luck with the YouTube channel. I think we might set up a challenge maybe next year.
definitely. Yeah. And I suppose if anyone is looking to find me on YouTube, just type in David Toner on YouTube. You can find my videos there. Follow me on Instagram and stuff. And yeah, again, thanks a million for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries at all. That's the marketing degree coming in handy there, giving the plug.
Oh, for sure. You know it.
Exactly. Thanks a million, Dave. Really appreciate it.
No worries. See you now.
A massive thank you to David for coming on today, and I just want to wish him and all of his teammates the best of luck this season. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and did enjoy the episode, be sure to leave a rating and a review, as it does help the podcast to grow. If you are interested in setting up your own podcast, be sure to get in touch with the Primal Productions team over on Instagram @PrimalPro. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.